Welcome to today's program, Rotary Reads. My name's Dave Bennett. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Neepawa here in Manitoba. Rotary International is a service organization, worldwide 1.2 million members that we're all part of in 129 different countries. And each month, RI produces a magazine in up to about 25 different languages to get it out worldwide to all of the members. The intent of this program is to try to share some of the stories and articles that are in that magazine. There's stories of general interest, and well as Rotary stories, particularly updating our programs. The Polio Plus program, which is one of our major programs, the vaccination of children around the world, hygiene, sanitation, world peace, and many other topics that Rotary supports and leads in. So today I have with me a member of the Neepawa Club, Bob Durston. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking your time to read with us here today. Now, Bob, you've been a member of our club for quite a while, I think, haven't you? How long?
I was invited by Homer Gill back in February of 1976, so 46 years, something like that.
You'll soon be hitting that 50 milestone.
Well, that's right, and you're not far behind. So.
Well, I'm about 8 or 9 years behind you, I think. We've had a few 50-year members.
Yeah.
We only have one in the club right now, and that's Ivan Trail.
That's right.
But we've had a few before that have passed on. Anyway, the magazine I mentioned, there's a Canadian insert that they put out every 3 months, and Bob, I think, is chosen from one of those today.
That's correct.
What have you got there, Bob?
Well, what I've got is actually the October Canadian edition. It's I probably can't pick it up on a camera, but that's the outline. As you say, it comes out every 3 months, along with the internationals for the North American in English, outlining what the district is doing, all the districts, what some of the clubs are doing. I think you're going to talk about that a little bit later, about some of the club activities. We could spend a whole session just talking about what we do in our club, and I could talk another hour on what we do in the district, because I'm also the district foundation chair, looking after the district grants and assisting with global grants. But I chose today this because it fits in with what our district has been doing for over 10 years down in Guatemala, and what our own member Ron was down there on the vocational training team, assisting training teachers down there. And I thought this is a different part. It's in Canada, it's out in BC, so I thought I would read that today. So it's called In Rotary's Wheelhouse, and you'll know why in a moment. The statistics are staggering. In Guatemala, a country of about 18 million people, 10% of the population has a disability. Nearly a third of all households include at least one person with a disability. There is a huge need for wheelchairs in Guatemala, says Ron Lewis, but the vast majority of Guatemalans who need a wheelchair do not have one. Lewis is a member of the Rotary Club of Abbotsford, Suma in British Columbia, where he's the director of the club's International Projects Committee. He also serves on the board of directors of the Canadian Wheelchair Foundation, and the outreach for Suma's club has worked with that organization to deliver wheelchairs in Guatemala. And just as a side note, we in our own club here have also purchased through the Canadian Wheelchair Foundation wheelchairs for people in need in other countries that really can't afford them. So it ties in with something that our club has done also.
It wasn't that particular project.
It's another project, but it was with the Wheelchair Foundation of Canada that we were involved in purchasing a couple of wheelchairs to help out. And I said, there's so many organizations that we can get involved in, and Rotary does, and because partnerships means that we can do a lot more, and this is what this story is about. So this led to a partnership that would come to involve 5 other Rotary districts in 50-50, clubs from the Fraser Valley in southern British Columbia, the Rotary clubs in Abbotsford, Mission Midday, and a 6th club out of the state of Washington, because along the Canadian border, some of our clubs are in a district that is combined U.S.-Canada, so it makes even for more interest when you have a cross-border district and cross-border clubs.
Yeah, there are a number of the down east as well, I think.
Yes,
there's somewhere they're not.
That's correct. So in the partnership, they received financial support from the Inspired by Vision, as another organization that describes itself as a catalyst between charitable endeavors and philanthropic funders. The Canadian Rotarians made their first visit to Guatemala in February 2015 when 6 members of the Abbotsford Sumas Club delivered and assembled 280 new wheelchairs in Guatemala City in Antigua, Guatemala. Before they arrived, members of the Rotary Clubs of Ciudad de Guatemala and La Antigua helped with the logistical details, doing a needs assessment and making arrangements for the deliveries of the individual wheelchairs. An emotional Mike Atkins, who at the time was president-elect of the Abbotsford Sumas Club, spoke with a local reporter when he returned home from the trip. A lot of people who received wheelchairs were physically and mentally disabled, he said. There was one man who for 17 years was lying on a mattress on the floor. When we gave him the wheelchair, he cried, and it changed his life. And any Rotarian or anybody that's been on any international service project, you find that they just can't believe somebody will help them out. And we have that in our own country. We have our people here that we help, that they just can't believe that somebody will really give them a hand up. Not a handout, but a hand up. So in 2017, the Canadian Rotarians returned to deliver and assemble another 280 durable wheelchairs. The conditions in Guatemala are tough on people with disabilities, says Lewis. There's no such things as ramps, and the challenges to people in wheelchairs are demanding, whether they live in a rural area or along the cobble streets in the city. So the chairs need to be well built and not subject to breakdown. Lewis and his fellow Rotarians did have one regret. The wheelchairs were made in China and then shipped there with spare parts. He said, before invoking a familiar metaphor, that's like sending the people of Guatemala a load of fish but not teaching them to fish. We wanted them to teach them to fish. That impulse led to a new approach. We had gotten to know Rotarians at the Guatemala City Club, and we decided we would apply for a global grant, says Lewis. And a global grant is for the Rotarians and their clubs can apply to Rotary Foundation for funding for grants, some matching dollars up to usually in the neighborhood of $30,000 or $40,000 is the U.S. is the project, but some of them get much larger, and I've seen projects up to $600,000 and $1 million, and those ones, of course, take a lot of clubs and a lot of districts to do. But they applied for the global grant, which that money actually came from Rotarians such as Dave and I, in all the clubs around the world. It goes into the pot, and then we can call upon that pot of money to help us and with some matching dollars to do projects. It really helps with the fundraising.
So that's where some of those Paul Harris dollars, as we call them, goes to, because our Nipawak Club does a couple of Paul Harris presentations every year, and you'll see on NAC TV coming up shortly will be some presentations, because this year that's going to happen.
It'll be our 2021 Paul Harris presentations that we would normally do in an evening banquet in April at the Legion, but last year and this year, our president has gone out on the street, so to speak, and in the parks to make presentations to the recipients. So it's a nice way to honor people with our donations to the foundation, and we can honor local people. And the dollars go out and help people around the world, or even locally as well. Yeah, and some of the money actually does come back to us. About 25% of all the money that we send out comes back to us, and that's what we use for our scholarships and some of our local grants that we apply for through. So Rotary. Not all of our money is going away; some of it comes back. Some of it comes back, and so it's people just helping each other. So through the Guatemala Rotary Club, the Canadians got to know Alec Galvez, who years ago had been an innocent bystander when he got shot in the back and became paralyzed. A journalist American at that time had helped him receive crucial medical surgery, and that afterwards, this gentleman resolved to devote himself to helping other Guatemalans living with paralysis. In 1996, he founded the Transitions Foundation, which a nonprofit based in Antigua that offers a wide range of services and opportunity for people with disabilities. Its prosthetic and orthotic clinic provides braces and artificial limbs for individuals with special mobility needs. It also has scholarships and vocational training that helps students prepare to lead successful and independent lives. in sports and recreation programs encourage active and healthy lifestyles, and transition builds wheelchairs, so now we get another connection.
Okay.
So the important thing about transitions is that most of the people working there have a disability. So you've got people in wheelchairs making wheelchairs. Talk about teaching a man to fish.
Well, there you go.
So, I mean, it's just the partnerships and the ability to help.
Well, in Rotary, this is our opinion, I know,
Yeah.
Bob, and we profess this a lot, but Rotary International can tie all that together and can get, clubs doing things and helping each other and where a need is out there.
Well, the other thing is, the Rotarians, not so much the last 2 winters, but in the normal winters in the past, Rotarians from North America have gone down to the South American countries, Mexico and the other South American countries, and it's always amazing when you spend some time down there, you get to know people. The other way we get to know people is our students that have gone out are on our youth exchange,
Right, yeah.
and so then, because they're hosted by a club down there and families down there, so then it snowballs, it's building peace and fellowship and the connections, because how hard is it to say no to a friend? And
Well,
that's really what it amounts to.
So if you're watching out here, well, we're all across Canada, so there must be a Rotary Club in your area. If you're interested in, being involved in doing something like we're doing here, you search out Rotary on Google, and I'm sure you'll be well accepted into a club.
And you really don't have to be a Rotarian to donate to the Rotary Foundation. You do it through your local Rotary Club, and your funds will go in, and they can actually be designated if you so wish, but usually it goes in because it's going to help someone somewhere, whether it's in a disaster or just give them a hand up out of poverty. So the partnership with Transitions became the central piece of the Rotarian Global Grant application. The application noted that the organization and its employees required help to continue their work. With additional money, they would be able to hire more people with disabilities, produce more wheelchairs and other disability aids in the country, and extend their assistance. Additional funds would also allow Transitions to hire a physiotherapist and advance Galvez Dream to provide wheelchairs, prosthetics, and programs beyond Antigua. So again, once you get to a stage that you can meet your local needs, then you can expand out and help others.
Yeah.
And we see that all the time. Perhaps even into other Central American countries. The grant application explained the beneficiaries of additional funding would be the disabled and their families who with mobility assistance could attend school, be gainfully employed, and retain their social positions in the communities. The Abbotsford Sumas Club serves as the international sponsor for the project, with members Lewis Atkins and Karina Chow as the principal contacts. The Rotary Club of Ciudad de Guatemala is the host club, and the 2 clubs' past presidents took the lead, and they went on doing this. The project is actually budgeted at more than $200,000 US, and with the Abbotsford Sumas Club and the 6 other district clubs, they provided $43,000 of the amount. The district designated fund, which is some of the money coming back to us to allocate, because I do that all the time with our foundation, and they got $28,000 from there. At this time when they were doing this, the Government of Canada had also contributed to Rotary Canada $6 million over a 5-year period to match grants from our local clubs. So the Canadian government at that time, through their International Affairs Department, put in $65,000. So, and then they found Rotary Foundation World Fund put in the balance of the money. So that's how they raised their money. So we're very thankful with having the Government of Canada. We're actually negotiating again with hope that we may have another partnership with the Government of Canada for some Rotary Projects International. So in March of 2019, the global grant application was approved, and the plan was to disperse the money over 2 years, with the first installment released in September of 2019. Shortly after a project was approved, the biggest part of the story is how we were able to work in partnership and how we could use our expertise to help transform another organization in less developed areas and be able to bring resources to that community. With the extra money, Transitions can now build an additional 100 wheelchairs a year for each of the 2 years of the grant. Wheelchairs are widely distributed, and Antigua is the center of the operation. But if people need them, Transitions will try to arrange to get wheelchairs to them. The wheelchairs are provided at a minimal cost to the recipients. They have to pay something, but it's entirely dependent upon how much they can pay. hypothetically, if they can only pay $10, they pay $10. And that's the beauty of a lot of our programs, is that because we're giving a hand up, the people really want to contribute. And in this case, it's contributing cash back, and what they do, they modify the chairs to the individual, custom fit for size, and especially if they've had polio or multiple sclerosis or some of these other diseases that, they really need a specialized wheelchair too. But
well, and the hand up is their earning power has certainly been decreased, because a lot of the people in Guatemala are laborers, and those are the ones we're trying to help.
So the grant supported the treatment in the physiotherapy clinic run by Transitions, training, education, and community outreach to improve the quality of life for people with disabilities and their caregivers, and additional employment opportunities at Transitions for workers with disabilities. And that's the great thing about working at Rotary, Lewis says. You know exactly where your money is going, but he adds the gratification of the project extends beyond its monetary aspect. It has been immeasurably satisfying to work with the wonderful people in Guatemala, with the Rotarians in 3 countries, and with the Rotary Foundation to provide a small measure of relief to people who need a little help. This was a good cooperative project, and it doesn't get any better. And this really is what our district is also doing. We're in what we call the ripple effect, which was started in our district 10 years ago by some Winnipeg Rotarians being down in Guatemala for sort of vacation. They got to meet the Rotarians down there, because when you're wearing your Rotary pins and Rotary
the logo or
the logos and this sort of thing,
sure,
people recognize, and so they got talking, especially when you're spending time down there, and they got into with the helping with small schools in the rural areas.
So it's education, right? The ripple effect is based on education.
It's all about education.
Right.
And education means that we're providing some basic books, and then we got into providing computers. The Regina Eastview Club is now in their second grant, global grant, for putting computers in schools.
Okay.
We have Rotary International allowed us last year to have a pilot project to build simple schools. When they call it simple school, is like a couple of classrooms, an administrative office, and washrooms, gender-based washrooms. Because one of the things is that if the girls down there cannot go to school past grade elementary school, because once they reach puberty, if they don't have separate washrooms and all the other things that go with that, in the hygiene and all the rest of it, they can't go to school. So these schools have been built, and there's through global grants, but back to the ripple effect was what started. And really right now, and Rotary Club of Neepawa just contributed $1,950, which will provide a scholarship to allow one student to attend 3 years of high school.
Right, yeah, there've been very little from the village that we've got involved in, where Ron went to. They have really had very few people go on further education, but that's the plan, of course, to try to help.
That's the plan, and our ripple effect is working in with Rotary Club of Norte in Guatemala, and working in that small area, because the ripple effect people in our district, when it first started, decided they're going to concentrate in one area and help the people in one area, rather than being a scatter effect, which really doesn't help anybody. I mean, you can get them a little bit, but we've been trying for 10 years to, and we're seeing the effects now. We're getting new schools. We're getting the Department of Education down there is now on board, and if we either assist in building or build a school and equip it, then the Department of Education has said, if you do that, we will guarantee the operating, and we will guarantee that the school will have teachers for the classrooms. Mm-hmm. And so, and then the other thing that's happened just recently is that the big cement company in that area has said, because they have a foundation too, and they said, okay, if you're building schools and security walls and washrooms, all that sort of stuff, we'll supply the cement.
Oh, okay.
So, again, the partnerships with Rotary, we're building, and so those people in the communities are seeing the benefits. They're getting the schools. They're what Ron talked about, where they're putting the municipality put a main sewer line down the street, which is great. But then how do you get the sewage from your house to the street? And the Winnipeg Club, and we are partnering in that because we contributed financially to it. But they are working with 52 families right now, completing the building a washroom, bathroom on the side of the house with a pipe out into the main sewer line so that they can actually now be able to have showers and toilets and all the rest of it.
We had a direct report on that just last week.
That's right.
Because we, of course, are doing Zoom calls now to have for our meetings and so on, and we've had some international visitors on our Zoom call, and we had 2 women from that Guatemala area that we're working with give us a report on that, and so that's some of the information that Bob's relaying to you right now. So Rotary, being a worldwide organization, certainly facilitates us doing our work, because there's another Rotary Club over there that you're not just giving money to somebody, you're working with another Rotary Club.
And I saw that, our family saw that, and our club saw that when our club many years ago, with a club that Chris was in Mexico, we ended up doing what they called at that time a matching grant for seniors, a home for Indigenous people down there. And we were fortunate that we actually got down there to see, and I could not believe how welcome we were. And people are wondering, what's this family? How come they're so important? But it was because we were representing the Canadian Rotary down there, and they wanted to show us what they did. And it was just amazing, because one of the spin-offs was that we provided all the funds to put all new blankets and sheets and pillows and that on all the 80 cots that the people had to live in. And they actually hired local ladies to make the sheets and that, so they provided employment out of this also. So there's all kinds of spin-offs, and other groups in Las Mochis came forward. They spruced up the facility, new coats of paint, and a number of items that was a result of our little bit of money that we did on part of it, of providing some wheelchairs and some exercise bicycles and some very basic medical equipment for them.
It's interesting, Bob, how this, Bob's talking about his own son being down there, but that was probably in maybe the 35th year of the program of the student exchange. Nipawin got involved in it back in 1978, I think it was, when we had our first student come over here, and our student went out. And of course, we've been involved with it up till about 2 or 3 years ago, and the whole program's on hold, of course, right now. But you build that connection just from one student being in one place, but of course you've got, from our district, 40 students in 40 places, and in every district, so you've got hundreds and thousands of students and all making connections, and these connections help later on when we try to do projects and that sort of thing.
Well,
so it really is a worldwide organization.
It is a really worldwide, and our former member Roy McGilvery talked about the time when his Brazilian son, when they were in Brazil, they had one of the members of their business group slipped and fell and broke his leg, and Rodrigo was right there interpreting for him at the hospital, and making sure that he got the best of the care.
Right.
But that's just the connections that you have, and as a Rotarian, you go anywhere in the world, and if you're in a community and something happens, and you phone up the local Rotary Club, and boy, they're right there to help, because we do the same thing here, because it's a service organization. You know the people, and you want to help each other.
Well, it's interesting, and maybe this is something positive that's come out of COVID, in a sense that we've been forced, as a lot of organizations and businesses have, to move to Zoom meetings and so on. So, to make them interesting, a little more interesting, I guess, we've started trying to connect with clubs in other countries and so on. It's interesting, our Rotary Club is planning right now a beer tasting event that's going to be coming up the end of April, I guess it is, we're looking at now. And this all came about. We had a connection with a club in England, and they did a wine tasting event. And so we've kind of twisted that around a little bit to see what we can do with it. They heard about our auction, which is our Neepawa major fundraiser, our auction that we had to go online this year. And so we've been on Zoom call with them over there, giving them advice and suggestions on how to run an online auction. So it's really share and share alike.
Well, we got the online auction because Ron had a personal contact with the Rotary Club of Kenora, and knew that they had it, so that's where that started from. So that's what I say, it's sharing. So it's a really great opportunity.
There's certainly a lot of that. Well, we're running kind of the program out here, 2 or 3 minutes left. Sometimes like to read from the magazine. There's Rotary projects around the globe that they have in here, and so maybe I could read a couple of those, Bob. This one's from the United States, and it's quite interesting, I thought. A Wisconsin club is employing an all-natural method of removing invasive shrubs in the municipal park. It helps to maintain goats. That's right, goats. In June, the Rotary Club of McEwen-Thiensville Sunrise, I hope I pronounced that right, in north suburban Milwaukee, transported some 40 goats to the park for the environmentally friendly defoliation. Procured by contract with a herder, the goats chomped through common buckthorn and honeysuckle, grazing densely overgrown areas barely accessible to Rotarians during their semi-annual clearings. So the overgrowth was getting so bad the Rotarians couldn't get there for their clearings. So somebody came up with this goat idea, and I've heard of this idea before, but here's the first time I've seen it in print. This draws as many as 100 volunteers annually. Well, we got 40 goats in instead, I guess. We could not have had as significant an impact on buckthorn removal if we'd tried to remove it by the manual labor, says Connie Pucate, a club member. Rotarians installed the electric fencing for the paddock for the goats because, of course, they'd wander anywhere. So they put electronic fencing up around, worked in shifts to monitor and water the goats, of course, and inspected the fencing twice daily to make sure nobody was escaping and laying down on the job, right? It goes on to say, we've received a number of inquiries from local property owners and one from municipalities seeking information about using goats to chew down buckthorn on their properties. So there's just a neat little article that's in the magazine, and there's always full of neat little things like that, that hopefully maybe somebody will pick that idea up from what I've read today and just give that a go and see what they can do with it as such. I'd like to usually end with the four-way test. It's kind of a way that we think, Bob, isn't it, as to when we're trying to make decisions how to do things. Is it the truth is the first question. And
is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned? That's correct. And then
beneficial?
Is it beneficial to all concerned? And does it build goodwill and better friendship?
And the final part of it now is, will it be fun?
Will it be fun? That's right, because that's part of Rotary too. We're trying to do that. So we want to end the program with that, and we'll thank the Rotary Club of Saskatoon and Tana for having put our four-way test to the song. Hope you join us again sometime.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build good? Will it better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? When we pay it forward, it will be returned. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?